Tonight, like every night, you are going to lie down, close your eyes, and lose consciousness for hours. And at some point in the dark, without deciding to, without lifting a finger, you will build an entire world. People will speak to you, places you have never been will feel utterly real. Impossible things will happen, and you will simply accept them. Then you will wake up, and within minutes most of it will be gone, evaporated, as if it never happened at all. You will do this again tomorrow and the night after. Over a single human lifetime, you will spend something like 6 years of it dreaming. 6 years living inside stories your own brain writes, performs, and then quietly deletes before breakfast. And here is the strange part. After more than a century of serious science, thousands of studies, brain scans, sleep labs running through the night, we still cannot fully answer the simplest question a child might ask. Why do we dream at all? This is the story of what is actually happening inside your skull when you dream, of the competing theories scientists are still fighting over, and of the honest, slightly unsettling truth at the center of it all. Because dreaming is one of the most common experiences on Earth, and it remains one of the least understood. Let's start with what we do know, because that part is remarkable enough. When you fall asleep, you don't just switch off like a lamp. Your brain descends in stages through the night. First comes light sleep, then deeper and deeper stages where your brain waves slow into long, rolling waves. Your heartbeat settles and your body does its quiet repair work. But then, roughly 90 minutes in, something dramatic happens. Your brain suddenly lights up again. This is the stage called REM, which stands for rapid eye movement, and the name is literal. Behind your closed eyelids, your eyes begin to flick back and forth as if you are watching something, and in a sense, you are. Your brain during REM is almost as active as it is when you are wide awake. Some regions, especially those tied to emotion and vivid imagery, are firing even harder than in waking life. This is where your most intense, most bizarre, most story-like dreams happen. To an instrument measuring your brain, a person deep in a dream can look astonishingly like a person who is up and living their day. But there is a catch, and it is a beautiful piece of biological engineering. While your brain is blazing away, inventing a whole world, your body is almost completely paralyzed. During REM sleep, the signals that would normally travel from your brain to your muscles are switched off. Your arms, your legs, nearly your entire body go limp and unresponsive. This is called muscle atonia, and it is not a malfunction, it is protection. Think about it. If your brain is genuinely rehearsing running, fighting, falling, or fleeing, and your muscles were free to obey, you would physically act out your dreams every single night. You would leap out of bed, throw punches, run into walls. The paralysis is a safety catch that keeps your dreaming self trapped safely inside your head. We know this matters because in people whose safety catch fails, a real and serious condition, they do begin to act out their dreams, sometimes violently, and can injure themselves or others while fast asleep. That thin layer of paralysis is quietly protecting you every night of your life. So where is all this coming from? A great deal of the dreaming machinery lives deep in the ancient core of your brain, in a region of the brainstem called the pons. During REM, the pons sends waves of signals surging upward into the higher parts of your brain. A messenger chemical called acetylcholine floods the system, switching the dreaming state on, while other chemicals that keep you alert and logical in daytime are turned right down. The result is a brain that is intensely active, intensely emotional, richly visual, and yet strangely uncritical. It is a brain perfectly primed to generate a vivid experience while barely questioning how absurd that experience is. That explains the how. Now for the hard part, the why. And this is where the neat, confident science gives way to something much more honest, a genuine, ongoing argument. Because scientists broadly agree on the machinery of dreaming, but they do not agree on its purpose. There are several major theories, each with real evidence behind it, and no single one has won. Let me walk you through the main contenders, and I want to be upfront. These are competing ideas, not settled facts. The first big theory is that dreams help you remember. The idea is that during sleep, and especially during dreaming, your brain is busy sorting through the day. It replays experiences, strengthens the connections worth keeping, and lets the useless clutter fade. Memory consolidation, it is called. There is solid support for the notion that sleep is crucial for locking in what you have learned. People who sleep after studying tend to remember more than those who stay awake. In this view, a dream is a side effect, or perhaps a signature of your brain filing the day away, deciding what to keep and what to let go. The second theory says dreams are less about memory and more about feeling. Call it overnight therapy. The thinking is that dreams let you process difficult emotions in a safer setting. During REM sleep, some of the stress chemistry of the waking brain is dialed down, so you can revisit an upsetting or frightening experience with a little of the sting removed, replaying the emotion without the full alarm. Over time, this might soften the sharp edges of a painful memory, keeping the lesson while easing the hurt. It is a compelling idea, and it fits the way a good night's sleep can leave a problem feeling smaller in the morning, but it is still a theory, not a proven mechanism. The third is one of the most striking. It is called the threat simulation theory, proposed by the researcher Antti Revonsuo. The suggestion is that dreams are a kind of built-in flight simulator for danger. Notice how many dreams involve being chased, threatened, falling, or facing something frightening. In this view, that is not random, it is rehearsal. Deep in our evolutionary past, a brain that could safely practice escaping predators and handling threats at night, when the body was paralyzed and no real risk was involved, might have produced people who reacted a little better to danger in daylight. Your worst nightmares, by this reading, might be an ancient training program that helped your ancestors survive. Then there is a very different and famously deflating theory. It is called activation synthesis, put forward by two scientists, Alan Hobson and Robert McCarley. Their argument is almost the opposite of the others. They propose that dreams may not have a deep hidden meaning at all. During REM, the brainstem fires off bursts of essentially random electrical signals. Your higher brain, the part that spends all day making sense of things, receives this jumble of noise and does what it always does. It desperately tries to weave it into a story. The strange plots, the sudden scene changes, the person who is somehow also someone else, all of it could simply be your storytelling mind stitching a narrative onto random static. In this view, the meaning of a dream is not buried inside it. The meaning is invented after the fact by a brain that cannot stand nonsense. A more recent framework, sometimes called predictive processing, offers yet another angle. It sees the brain as a prediction machine that is constantly building a model of the world and testing it against reality. Dreams, in this view, might be the brain running and refining its internal model offline, at night, free from the flood of real sensory input. A kind of overnight rehearsal of how the world works, tuning the simulation you use to navigate every waking moment. And we cannot talk about dream theories without mentioning the oldest famous one. Over a century ago, Sigmund Freud argued that dreams were disguised wish fulfillment, coded messages from a hidden unconscious expressing forbidden desires in symbolic form. For decades, this idea dominated the popular imagination, and it still shapes how many people talk about dreams. But it is important to be clear, most modern neuroscientists have largely set Freud's specific theory aside. There is little hard evidence that dreams are secret-coded wishes waiting to be decoded. His influence on culture was enormous. His influence on current dream science is small. So look at what we have: memory filing, emotional processing, threat rehearsal, random noise turned into story, a prediction engine tuning itself, and an old idea about hidden wishes that has mostly fallen away. These theories cannot all be fully right, and the honest truth is that the answer may be a mixture. Dreaming might do several of these things at once, or different dreams might serve different purposes. The disagreement is not a sign that science has failed. It is a sign of how genuinely hard this question is. Now let's look at some of the stranger corners of the dreaming world, because they reveal even more about what is going on. Take the nightmare. A nightmare is a dream that tips into fear or distress, usually during REM sleep, vivid enough to sometimes wake you with your heart pounding. Nightmares seem to be tangled up with stress, anxiety, and difficult experiences, which fits neatly with the idea that dreaming is partly about processing emotion, sometimes clumsily, sometimes painfully. But a nightmare is not the same as a night terror, and the difference is revealing. A night terror strikes not in REM, but in the deepest, dreamless stages of sleep, usually early in the night. A person, often a child, may suddenly sit up, cry out, look terrified, even thrash around, all while still deeply asleep. And here is the telling detail. In the morning, they usually remember nothing at all. There was no story, no dream to recall, just a storm of raw fear rising out of deep sleep. It shows that the frightening feeling and the dream story are two separate things the brain can produce on their own. And then there is the most tantalizing phenomenon of all, the lucid dream. This is when you are dreaming and suddenly you realize it. You become aware inside the dream that none of it is real. For some people, that awareness brings a kind of control. They can decide where to go, what to do, even bend the dream world to their will, flying, changing the scene, all while their body lies asleep. Lucid dreaming is genuinely real and has been confirmed in the laboratory. In careful experiments, sleepers who knew they were dreaming were able to signal to researchers using deliberate, pre-agreed eye movements, sending a message out from inside the dream while every other muscle stayed paralyzed. It is one of the most extraordinary things we know about the sleeping mind, a flicker of the waking, self-aware brain switching back on in the middle of a dream. Now here is a question that gets us close to the heart of the mystery. If we dream so much and so vividly, why do we forget almost all of it? You can have an epic, emotional, hours-long dream, and 30 seconds after waking, it slips through your fingers like water. This is not a flaw in your memory. It seems to be built into the chemistry of the sleeping brain. Remember those alertness chemicals that get turned down during REM. One of them, noradrenaline, is deeply involved in forming and fixing new memories. During dreaming, its levels are low, and the parts of your brain responsible for laying down lasting memories are running on a very different setting than they do when you are awake. So a dream is experienced intensely in the moment, but it is barely being recorded. The main reason you tend to remember a dream at all is if you wake directly out of it, catching it before it fades, which is exactly why the dreams you recall are so often the ones you woke up in the middle of. Your brain, quite literally, is not built to save most of them. And if you attempted to think dreaming is some rare quirk, consider this. As far as we can tell, essentially everyone dreams. People who swear they never dream almost always do. They simply forget every trace of it. And the reach of dreaming goes further than you might expect. People who are blind still dream. Those who lost their sight later in life may still see images in their dreams for years. And those who were born blind, who have never seen anything at all, dream just as richly, but in the senses they do know. Their dreams are full of sound, of touch, of emotion, of spatial feeling. It tells us something profound. Dreaming is not really about the eyes at all. It is a deep, universal function of the human brain, built into all of us, whatever our senses. So where does that leave us? We know a great deal about the how. We know that the dreaming brain roars to life in REM, that the pons and acetylcholine drive it, that muscle paralysis keeps you safe, that low noradrenaline lets the whole thing dissolve by morning. We know almost everyone does it, that even the blind do it, that it can turn to nightmare or to lucid flight. But the deepest question, the simple why, remains genuinely open. It sits on the short list of real mysteries in modern neuroscience, alongside the biggest question of all, the nature of consciousness itself. We have strong, competing theories. We do not have a final answer, and there is something almost fitting about that. The experience that feels the most mysterious from the inside is still, from the outside, one of the true unsolved puzzles of the mind. Every single night, your brain will pull you into a world that does not exist, make you believe in it completely, and then wipe it away before you can hold on. It is one of the most common things any human ever does, and we still do not fully understand why. Maybe it strengthens your memories. Maybe it soothes your fears. Maybe it rehearses you for danger, or tunes the model you use to understand reality, or is simply your restless brain refusing to sit in silence. Maybe it is all of these at once. So here is what we want to hear from you. When you dream, do you remember them, and do they mean anything to you? Which of these theories feels truest to your own nights? The memory sorter, the emotional healer, the danger rehearsal, or the brain that just cannot stop telling itself stories? Tell us in the comments. And if this made you look at your own sleeping mind a little differently, stay with us. Because the human brain is full of mysteries hiding in plain sight, and the strangest one of all might be waiting for you tonight, the moment you close your eyes.